Hi there and welcome to this interview with me from Target Property Spain, and today we're joined by Marc Elliot from Fluent Finance Abroad, and we're here to talk about mortgages. But whoa, don't turn off, we're not going to bore you with numbers and facts. This is going to be useful information. Marc, would you like to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you do?
Thank you very much, Keith. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Marc Elliot from Fluent Finance Abroad, and as Keith said, we're mortgage specialists in Spain, and we've been going since 2006.
So I guess the first thing most of our audience want to know, Marc, is are the banks lending to non-Spanish residents?
Yeah, since the credit crunch, I would say since 2013, 2014, the banks have been fairly healthy. There's been a number of mergers and acquisitions with the different lenders to shore up their balances, and they're lending fairly freely to non-residents.
Great, so money's available. The money's out there, folks.
Money is out there, yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody looking to come to buy a property in Spain that is looking to secure finance?
Okay, the first bit of advice I would give is don't assume that Spanish banks operate in the same way as the banks in your particular home country. The culture, the lending culture, and just the way things are done in Spain is completely different from where I'm from. For example, I used to be a mortgage broker and I used to live in London. It's a completely different animal. So first thing I would say is don't assume that everything's going to work like it does in your own country. The next thing I would say is before you start thinking of buying properties in Spain or making offers, and you are considering finance, is get informed. Speak to an expert, speak to a bank, or speak to a mortgage broker, or better off speak to Fluent Finance to get a good idea as to what to expect when applying.
So they should do that before they start looking?
100%. That's what I would suggest is do your homework first regards to the money, and then once you're clear on how the money side of things is going to work from all angles, then you will have the confidence then to then go and make offers on properties that you like to.
Interesting, because I would imagine most of our audience would think come and find a property first and then maybe try to secure the finance, but you're saying let's do it in the other order.
Yeah, I always say don't agree to sit an exam if you don't know what the subject matter is. What's the point? You've got to do it the other way. It's a bit like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. You can't buy a property without having the money organised. So we are able to do that. We have an agreement in principle service that we offer for all the different banks, so we can actually get your mortgage pre-approved on any property, as long as we know what your maximum budget is, and that's what we would discuss to work out. Then you can use that pre-approval to go and search the market for properties that are in your budget.
So in essence, that puts a buyer in a stronger position. If they've got their mortgage approved beforehand, then they find a property they're interested in. We can approach the vendor and say, look, these guys already have their finance approved. They are in essence a cash buyer.
100%. I always try and look at things from all perspectives, and I own property and I've sold property. So from a seller's point of view, I want someone who's coming into my home to take a look at it and spend my time. I would like to know that they're ready to buy, rather than and if someone came to me and showed me their mortgage pre-approval and someone else, I'd probably prefer to sell it to someone who's done their homework and who can complete quickly.
Yeah, okay. Sound advice. So get your mortgage approved in principle before you come over. And what about if you are a cash buyer? If you are a cash buyer and you don't need a mortgage, is it worth considering a Spanish mortgage?
Yeah, I think so as well. At least it's worth finding out. It all depends on what stage of life you're in. I mean, if you're 60, you're about to retire or retired, you may not want a mortgage. Totally get that. But if you're buying a second home and you're still working or working age, or you still got or you run your own business or something, getting a mortgage is something you should consider. You don't have to get one. Reasons, well, number one is that you don't tie up all your cash in Spain.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can leverage with a mortgage. Interest rates are good, so it makes sense. Number two, you can increase your budget a bit. Why would you want to increase your budget a bit? Well, it helps you buy a better property, better location, better rental return, better capital growth. Your family will be happier with you because you've got an extra bed, whatever. It can help with regards, I mentioned you don't decapitalise yourself. A lot of issues that we find is that people ring us 2 or 3 years down the road saying they bought cash and now they want to release equity to send back to the UK or wherever it is they want to sell. Sweden, for example. We get a lot of Swedes asking us this. It's impossible. It's very difficult to do. You can't just use your property in Spain as you could in the UK. It's much easier in the UK, for example, to release funds from equity tied up within your property. In Spain, you can't do that. The only way you can do that is by requesting a home improvement loan.
Okay, so equity release here is difficult in Spain.
Very difficult.
Okay.
Very difficult.
And of course, if you want to redeem your mortgage early here, which is very different to the UK, it's ridiculously cheap to do so.
Yeah, I mean, if you, by law, on a variable rate mortgage, the maximum a bank can charge you in the first 3 years is 0.25. So I'll give you an example. If you've got a mortgage of 100,000 euros, the maximum they can charge you to cancel that is 250 euros.
Wow.
And after the third year, it's zero. So, for example, what I'm saying is, even if you don't feel that you're going to have you don't need the mortgage, or it's worthwhile considering getting a mortgage and then paying it off once you 100% realise that you don't need it. Another thing which is quite good, especially if you're looking at if you earn in something other than euro, is getting. At the moment, the pound is not that strong against the euro, so a lot of Brits are considering getting a mortgage of 40, 50, 60%, whatever, waiting 2 or 3 years to see if the pound strengthens, and if the pound does strengthen, it gets to 120, 125, 130, like it was before Brexit, then they're going to send their sterling over and cancel the Spanish mortgage. There's another reason why it's sometimes a good idea. People stress out and they do get a little bit worried about the legalities of buying properties in Spain. We've all heard about horror stories about, I bought this place and then the town hall came in and told me to knock it down. The bank will also do their own legal due diligence on the property, and that can give you extra peace of mind. Not only will your lawyer be doing the due diligence on the conveyancing and the legalities, but the bank will. And if the bank aren't happy with lending, then you should ask yourself, should I really be buying this property? Okay, so the banks will give you that extra level of security. It's like another level of due diligence. Correct. On the property you're buying. They won't lend on it unless they're happy with it. Okay, interesting. So obviously in terms of our clients, they're quite free to go to a bank themselves, approach a bank themselves and source a mortgage. I know from my experience that most of the time when our clients do that, they get nowhere pretty slowly. So what's the advantage of going through a company like yourself? Well, like I said, we've been doing it 16 years. We have so we have plenty of experience of doing that. We've done, like I say, quite a few of these things. Over 16 years, you do build up a reputation of getting the job done. You do build up a number of really good contacts within the banks who can understand a non-resident application much better. We do volume. Okay, so it's not like you're going to go in there and it's just you in the bank. You be part of a broker who is, their sole aim is to get mortgages from banks, and because we do volume, we can command better rates. Yeah. So you're going to get a more complete. You should be getting better advice because it's independent advice. You're not going to get advice tailored just by one bank. So you come to an independent broker. That broker is free to discuss your application with any lender, and so that number one is an advantage. So you go to a number of different lenders. The broker, in our so we've done so many mortgages over the years, we can command better rates that an individual will be able to get. And because we've done so many of these, we have a system in place with each lender that will help speed up the matter. Okay, interesting. So not only is it quicker, you can offer better rates as well. And I guess that obviously you frame the application in the right way, because am I right in believing that if you get turned down by a bank for a mortgage application, it makes it harder moving forward
to get reapproved?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because you've got to prepare yourself in the right way before you approach. We get a lot of. It's kind of stressful when we get contacted once to try and put out fires, but once the fire is already there. So our job really is to understand each particular client, understand the pros and cons of each application, understand what the banks want to see and what the banks aren't too interested in, and then we try and make the application as wonderful and as beautiful as possible, and so that we're applying in the best light possible.
So before clients start looking for property, they should approach you, get in contact with you, tell you what you're looking to achieve. What's this going to cost the client?
Our advice is always free.
Free advice.
Yeah. The way it works is, so let's say I'm interviewing you, and I say, tell me your situation, warts and all, tell me everything.
You don't want to see my warts, Mark?
No, thanks, I don't, but hypothetically. So we have that discussion, and I need to work out whether or not I can do a job for you, and I can't charge you for that. I mean, that's not right. So we will have the discussion, I will look at everything, and I'll say, yes, I can take this client on, or no. If it's a no, then I'm afraid I'll give you the bad news, or I can find a way in which I can make something work for you. So we may be looking at something at 400,000, we may need to tweak it down to 300, yeah, to fit your cash budget, your income, whatever. Once we've had that discussion, then Fluent Finance or myself or another advisor will issue you with a proposal. And that's where we say, look, this is the mortgage that we recommend that you should go for. These are the terms and conditions that you should be expecting. These are the documents that we're going to need for you to supply us in order to get that. And here are our fees.
And all of this is going to cost me nothing?
Yeah, so at that point, nothing. If you decide that you like what you see in the proposal, and you like us as a firm, and you think we can do a job, then we would ask you to sign our contract, and then we would start real work. If you decide that it's not for you, then great, it doesn't cost you anything.
And how much of my time is that going to take?
Not long. The fact find and the initial thing is generally very, very quick. You know, I mean, we would have a discussion for about 15-20 minutes, and from there I pretty much know if there's something we can do. And then you know, to fill in a fact form, it's 10 minutes.
Well, what are you waiting for, folks? It's going to cost you nothing, about 25 minutes of your time, whether you're a cash buyer or you need finance. Worth getting in touch with Fluent Finance Abroad and see what they can do for you. Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Keith. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Catch us next time. Welcome,
Hello,
Mark.
Can we do that? It's not good. Right, okay. This is terrible.